Another tough series against the team picked to be better than Cleveland. Bring it on. What to watch for as the Guardians invade Atlanta. We'll tell you who's hot and who's not down in the minors. This is Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's been a long time without Guardians baseball. We had a day game on Tuesday and Wednesday and an off day on Thursday, and you got to wait till 7 o'clock tonight. But finally coming back with another exciting series in Atlanta. All primetime games. Should be a good matchup. We're here to talk about it on today's Locked On Guardians, your only daily Cleveland Guardians podcast that covers your team every day. The majors, the minors, the draft, everything in between. And Jeff, we've got a little bit of all of that on today's show. We're leading off the episode looking at the Guardians' prime matchup against the Braves this weekend, what to look for. We'll talk about who around the farm and who's hot and who's not in the system. And we do have some draft news to talk about. We're just 90 days away from the MLB draft. So lots of things to get into on a packed Friday edition of the show. If you're new here, I'm Justin Lada, one of your two co-hosts, been here for the last 4 years. My friend and co-host Jeff Ellis, who is the OG of this show and the Locked On MLB network. And we've both been covering the Guardians minor leagues, the draft and whatnot for 19 years, Jeff. I can't, some days I say that and I'm just like 19 years. That seems
like a long time.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean,
we were the young heads and now we are the old heads.
I know. I feel like it was just the other day. We were still going to Akron and learning stuff, and not.
I didn't have facial hair then. That was pre the facial hair.
Oh yeah, same here. I couldn't grow facial hair until I was like 25. So
no, my family's Lebanese. I could start growing facial hair when I was 6. It's part of the Arab thing.
I could not. I don't know why. My dad always had a beard when I was growing up, or a mustache, but. Yeah, so this should be a fun weekend for the Guardians. It's going to be another test against a good team that everyone thinks is a playoff team. And, of course, nobody thinks the Guardians are a playoff team except for Cleveland. And I would imagine, you know what, I do think Sunday night, this game, there is a game on Sunday Night Baseball this week, by the way, if you're not aware. It is Guardians Braves on NBC and Peacock at 7:15. I will say,
second because one of them already this year.
Yeah, second out of 3 Sundays. That's exciting, I think. I will say that switch to NBC and Peacock has been very nice from ESPN because I love Jason Benetti. I think he's fantastic.
Agreed. 100%.
You're gonna see Corey Kluber this weekend on the broadcast. CC Sabathia. I know Andrew Jones will be on there as well. So it's gonna be a very fun broadcast. And with the switch, like there's not as much bias against Cleveland. Like I know we kind of have this like. Not little brother, but we kind of have this like, I don't know. We always feel like grieved in Cleveland, like, and we kind of are because like we're off to a good start and Cleveland, everyone's kind of down in Cleveland, but we do kind of have this like little man mentality where we think everyone is against Cleveland, and in some ways they are, but I think that's going to be less on the NBC broadcast than it was on ESPN for all those years. You know what I mean? So I don't think it'll be as noticeable, even if people do think the Braves are better than the Guardians.
Sorry for anyone watching me. I had a giant white spider crawling across the keyboard that I just managed to kill and crush. So that was why I was being all herky-jerky there.
Call PETA.
It's I'm sorry if they get into my space and we have the biting type here. So it's just not good. No. Sorry, animal lovers. I think most of the people in the comments will agree. Spiders don't exactly have a lot of fans. No, it's nice that they're getting that representation. They're getting on the air. I thought it was interesting how they brought in one announcer from each side. So you'll get Manning again. I would kind of like it if you got like Hamilton is the one announcer. I know they can't do that because they need him for the radio. But but it was interesting. And as you said, I think, Jason Benetti, is that how you say his name, right? Or, I think he's just phenomenal. I think he's a star. The fact that Detroit stole him away from the White Sox is A, funny, and B, just like another, like the White Sox. How do the White Sox like manage to lose everything and everyone like be fantastic? I mean, he was fantastic before he left. Yeah, I mean, it's the thing. Ownership. As much as people get mad, and it's the thing I've always said, I'm never going to say like we have great ownership in Cleveland, but like they're not even in the discussion for, worst ownership when you have Jerry Reinsdorf owning a baseball team, let alone some of the others out there like Dick Monfort and others. So it's could always be worse.
Yeah. This should be a fun series, though. The Braves are off to a pretty good start offensively as a team, and their pitching's really good, too. You got Slade Cecconi and Bryce Elder on Friday night. Elder's a guy who induces a lot of weak contact, a lot of ground balls. He is missing more bats this year. He's getting more guys to chase. They've kind of upped his slider percentage, so be very curious to see what the Guardians do against that. It should be a good test for Cecconi, too, because this is going to be a very good Braves lineup they hit. And Ronald Acuna, stat-wise, does not look like he's off to the greatest start, but
bad luck.
A lot of bad luck, and Cleveland was lucky to get Bobby Witt out of town and Vinny Pasquantino out of town before they started to really do some serious damage. Although the Royals lost the White Sox on Thursday night, so I guess they're not quite there yet. You'd like to get out of Atlanta before Ronald Acuna starts coming around too. Saturday, it's Parker Messick and Martin Perez. Cleveland has seen plenty of Martin Perez over the years. That's another guy that just, it's gonna be annoying because he induces a lot of ground balls. He somehow avoids hard contact and just somehow seems to get through 5 or 6 innings with like 1 run or less. So another lefty, and I'm excited to see what Messick does. That'll be a big game for him because it's not, he obviously pitched in Tampa last year, which was almost a home game for him, but Atlanta will be pretty darn close. So I imagine he'll have quite a few family members in town. And then Sunday night is the big one, Jeff. You've got Tanner Bibee and Chris Sale on prime time. You get the 2 number 1s of these rotations. This will be a big start for Tanner. This is a good Braves team, and it's going to be a prime time. He's going up against Chris Sale. I think this is going to be a matchup Tanner's really going to want to pitch well in. Hopefully he's ready to go deeper into the game. It should be warmer in Atlanta than it has been in Cleveland or Seattle, so there shouldn't be any issues there. But I'm guessing that he's going to have a lot of juices flowing in this one. He's going to want to try to go deep and continue to move back up in the pitch count and innings pitched. And he's going to want to put his name out there on national TV against Chris Sale and give the Guardians their series win.
Yeah, it's, just the overall, apparently I can't speak. When it comes to Tanner, it's going to be a real interesting thing. It's a chance not just for him to go out and perform, but it's also a chance for him to shut down some of the haters or some of the, the people who really don't believe in him, who like to clap back and say, in big games or under bright lights, he presses or this or that. So I think there's also, I don't think he would ever think about this, but, I think somewhere maybe in the subconscious, there's a bit of it's a national TV game. The people who sometimes hate on him, this might be a way to shut them up. So I think there's also that perspective with that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just think in general, like Atlanta is a team every year people seem to think is going to make the playoffs, and they've kind of fallen short of expectations the last couple of years since they won that World Series. And that's because, they keep getting injuries to like Spencer Strider and all their, it's amazing how good the Braves are right now, considering they've got 4 guys who would be in the rotation right now on the injured list. So Elder's pitching well. Perez has pitched well so far. Chris Sale's not off to a great start, but he's kind of been unlucky. Or not unlucky. His FIP is kind of high, but still a very good pitcher at his age, and is going to be very tough for the Guardians. So it's amazing how well they're doing. And like I said, Acuna has not been hitting. Austin Riley's off to a bad start too, and that's the guy that kind of fell off last year. The numbers were really down for him in 2025, and a lot of people are expecting a bounce back for him this year, and it's still early, so he may still, but again, that's another guy you'd like to get out of town before it does happen, if it does happen. Drake Baldwin's a really good hitter. Matt Olson, I'm always scared of Matt Olson whenever you pitch against him. And then this is a Braves bullpen that you do not want to fall behind against. So the Guardians, I think, are going to want to lead before the late innings if they're going to take 2 out of 3 in this series again.
Yeah, it's definitely a series where, if they've only faced quality so far, and, they could take 2 out of 3 in this series and still not be ranked in the top 12 by ESPN is probably my takeaway with the way things have gone in the early going. But yeah, it's fun. And it's also, I brought it up yesterday off air, it's like a revenge series because Atlanta was scuffling last year, and it was probably before they went on their great run. It was probably the most painful series for me to watch in August last year. They were on a good run, and then Atlanta kind of knocked them off. when Atlanta had like the worst starting pitching in baseball last year because of injuries and such. So yeah, it's also a chance to there is of course the World Series revenge, but there's also some last year revenge that can occur too.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about keys to the series and what it's going to take for the Guardians to win 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. We also got to get into the minor leagues. We're a full week into the minor league season now across the board. Who's standing out so far? We'll talk about that coming up. It is tax time, and it's coming down to the wire. And for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes, it is a lot. If you're trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient for you, or you're sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, maybe you're emailing back and forth with someone, and you're kind of wondering, like, do they get your situation? This year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide, so you can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents will be uploaded straight to your TurboTax app right on the spot. And just like that, it's all over. You're done. No more stress. Your TurboTax expert gets you every dollar you deserve. And when you're going about your real day, getting real-time notifications, no stress, no worry. It's a relief walking in and meeting a real person these days when you're doing anything, especially walking out knowing your taxes are going to be handled. And you don't have to stress about what comes next or if you're going to be audited or something like that. Head on over to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book an appointment. Coming soon. Baseball season, it is heating up right now, and the weather in Cleveland has heated back up as well a little bit. We'll see if it sticks that way. Probably won't, but baseball is back, and we know that's a reason to celebrate. So we're giving a full month free of the Everydayer Club. If you go to LockedOnGuardians.supercast.com, use code FINAL, you unlock ad-free versions of the show every single day, and you get access to the private listener group chat over on Discord. Where we're talking about every single game. We're talking about the minors, all kinds of fun stuff around baseball. Tap the link in the show notes and use code FINALLY to claim your free month. So I think this is an important series for the Guardians because this is the last, not the last, but it's, I mean, I guess every series, there's no important series in April, but like, I don't know. We always say like, you just want to win series, win 2 out of 3, no matter what. But I think it's, they're going to face St. Louis after this on this road trip. So, I'd like to get this one on the road against another potential playoff team, at least early in April. But it's important because you're going to face 2 more lefties too. It's going to be, like I said, Perez and Sale. So another opportunity for guys like Fry and Hoskins to get in there. And I guess we'll see what happens with Fry. At least Hoskins got it going in the Royal Series a little bit, like the numbers all ticked up. So Ano Martinez will be in the lineup, right? Because he hits lefties well, but even though his grand slam came against righties, we'll get to see if Austin Hedges can keep up his better than Aaron Judge stats, as some people are sharing, which is hilarious. Gotta love small sample sizes, but it should be a lot of fun. And, we'll kind of get, I know the Sunday night game against Seattle was on prime time, but now that we've seen, 2 weeks of Chase DeLauter, he'll also be on prime time on Sunday night as well. And now that we've seen a few weeks of him, the rest of the baseball world can kind of catch on after he's had this hot start.
Yeah, it'd be nice if everyone caught on. I was texting you
to build that Rookie of the Year campaign.
Yeah, I was texting you to complain today when a lot of reasons to complain, but Jim Bowden, I don't know why I go to him for anything other than comedy, but talking about the top candidates for AL Rookie of the Year and Murakami, McGonigal, and I can't remember who the third, but it wasn't Chase DeLauter. It was someone who was like a relative. It was Carter Jensen. That was it. Those are the top 3 candidates, just so everyone knows. Those are the top 3
Well,
candidates.
He did hit 2 home runs in Cleveland.
So he did, but I mean,
he also overslept this year.
Yeah, I haven't checked back in on Murakami, but it's a very there is no bandwagon that Jim Bowden can't jump on quick and jump off of just as quickly. So, when it is a chance for him to shine more. 2 separate articles that came out on his swing because it's an odd swing. Let's be honest. It's one of those things that's different, but I don't know. I look at this too as not just a chance for those guys to step up, but, and I know we talked about this a bit in the first section, but what we talked about off air as well, like, I think it's just a chance for the starting pitching in general to shine. We've talked about like how crazy the strikeout rate is so far for the pitchers, and we talked about individually, but I think for this staff to it's kind of a yeoman staff. This is not like the days where it was, Kluber and Carrasco and all the all-stars, all the known names. It's still kind of nationally an unknown staff. So I think just the staff in general I'm kind of, and maybe that's wishful thinking, because if they shine, then it's probably going to go well for Cleveland. But I just think in general, the staff is the other thing I'm kind of looking forward to stealing a lot of lights and attention in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Braves are kind of a star-laden team. Like everyone knows who Ronald Acuna is. Everyone knows who Chris Sale is. Drake Baldwin's making a name for himself. I feel like everybody knows who Matt Olson is at this point. But I think the keys are definitely starting pitching. You want to make sure, like I said, get out of town before Acuna and starts heating up, and if Austin Riley does or not. And you have to get early leads. Like you can't be going into the 7th or 8th inning behind in this team, because this is a very, very deep Braves bullpen. Like Suarez is great. Tyler Kinley is a guy we talked about off air who's really good. Aaron Bummer is a tough lefty. Robert Suarez, I mentioned, is one of the most underrated relievers in baseball. Rizzo Iglesias is continually solid as a closer, so it's a very good bullpen. You want to hit Elder and Perez early, and we'll see what happens against Chris Sale. But should be a fun series. I'm looking forward to it, and like I said, I think the broadcast and sign will be great. It'll be interesting to see what Corey Kluber says too, because he's obviously had a lot of work with the guys on the staff, and now he's going to be on the broadcast because he's still bopping around in that pitching advisor role or whatever role he's got these days. I don't think they've necessarily defined it, but be curious to see what insights he has. Do you want to talk about the minor leagues a little bit?
Yep, let's start.
All right, well, let's start in AAA. So Hunter Gaddis rehabbed on Thursday night again. The velocity was down. The results were fine. I know it's still cold in Worcester.
Yes, very.
Is it Maine or where is?
No, isn't that in Massachusetts?
Is it?
I think it is.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where Worcester is.
I'm pretty sure it's Massachusetts.
It still looks like Worcester to me, but I know it's pronounced Worcester. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in a Massachusetts one. So it's kind of like their version of having a team relatively close to get players up and down from the to the big league squad.
So still cold there, and again, the results were good. The results were not good the other night, so we'll see what happens. But Hunter Gaddis has been 93, 94. I think it was like closer to 92 on Thursday. So that is something to keep an eye on.
If everyone who wasn't Nolan Jones struggled in that game for Columbus.
Everybody. Yeah. Not a surprise. Daniel Espino pitched again. I really wonder. I still have no idea what the plan is for him. Like, if you look at the game logs, like he's pitching on 3 days rest, 1 inning every single time out. So they're giving him 3 days down. He's coming back and he's pitching 1 inning, and he's pitching like 15 to 18 pitches. Finally got some whiffs in this one. He missed 8 bats, 2 strikeouts. He hasn't missed a ton of bats, but nobody is hitting the ball in play with any authority against him. The velocity for him is still good. Like he touched 100 in Columbus last week, and he was up to only 97 in this one, I think. But I don't know. Like we'll talk about Justin Campbell in a little bit, but the fact that Espino has missed as much time as he has, and the fastball, the velocity is that good, and he's finally missing some bats. He's not walking anybody. Guys aren't putting the ball in play hard against him. Like, I really wonder how there's no room in the bullpen right now. Like, I guess you could, Connor Brogdon doesn't have options. I know so far some people are not loving the Connor Brogdon experience, but I think he's fine overall. I don't know who he'd replace, but the way things are going, like we're going to see Daniel Espino at some point this season out of the bullpen.
Yeah, but it's still a long way off. Let's be honest. It's not something.
Well, because you can't have him in the bullpen if he can only pitch every 3 days. Like that's yeah.
Well, is it even every 3 days? And he's still like doing a?
It's every 3 days.
Yeah, is it up to every 3? So
no,
yeah, I mean,
it's the 4th day. Every 4th day.
Yes, it's every 4th day. So yeah, it's a mess of a situation. The other thing I got to say, I'm going to go off book here. I didn't alert Justin this, though I did text him about this earlier. How annoying is it
pop quizzes
that we had there's a whole story today about a baby kangaroo in action at a minor league park, and it wasn't in Columbus? How have the Columbus Zoo and the Columbus Clippers not had baby kangaroos showing up when you got an Australian player on the team? That shouldn't be happening in other parks. So come on, Columbus, get your act together. That was I got the push notification from the MLB app. That was what they were pushing out, was about a baby kangaroo at a game. I'm like, and it wasn't a team with an Australian.
I mean, Akron could have done it too, because the University of Akron has Zippy as their mascot, so Akron could have done it too, and it never happened. Yeah. So, yeah. Speaking of Bazzana, things are not going great for him. We have to address that next. We've got a couple other hitters to talk about, and we've got more pitching to talk about in the pitching factory. Another comeback story from Justin Campbell continues to be amazing. We'll get to that next. There is nothing fun about workplace chaos. Deadlines that are stacking up, inbox begins to overflow, and you've got a position sitting open that you've really got to fill. And that's when the pressure's on, and that's when you need Indeed sponsored jobs, because it's going to help you reach people who actually fit what you're looking for. They're going to find you people with skills, experience, locations, so you're not just hoping that the right candidate magically comes across your post. And the minute we've been talking to, companies like yours have actually made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, you want to spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates that check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. That's right. Less stress, less time, more results. Who doesn't like that? When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, that's when you need Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this podcast, you're getting a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Guardians. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. We are so close to 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you are one of the everydayers or anybody listening to this podcast that hasn't subscribed on YouTube, we'd love to have you over there, and also love to have you hit the bell so you get notified when we have reaction videos to games, news, and when the episodes go live. And as always, make sure you're checking the auto download feature on your favorite audio platforms so you always have the show in your feed. Again, appreciate all of the everydayers, the insiders, everyone who makes Locked On Guardians their first listen today and every day, wherever you get podcasts. I know everybody wants that daily dose of Cleveland Guardians baseball. We want it, and we didn't have it as far as actual games on Thursday. That's the one thing I really hate about getaway days. You have a getaway day on Wednesday where you play a 1:00 game, and there's no game on Thursday, and then you got to wait till Friday night. Like that's like what? Don't ask me to do math and time, but we're talking like 36 hours without 48 hours without Guardians baseball, or baseball in general.
I am too under the weather to do the math. I'm okay with it. It's almost like, this might get me in trouble. It's like, it's nice to have a palate cleanser. It's nice to kind of have a break sometimes so I can like readjust, reevaluate. I'm not someone who can do like the same food 3 days in a row. Like I kind of need things to break things up for me. So I'm okay with it. You know, I think it's nice to have a balance. I know we're going to talk about Bazzana here in a second. Before we get into it, the funny thing though is we're also just praising Cleo Watson off air about some of the good metrics and the things he's doing, whereas Watson's actually performing worse than Bazzana in AAA. So I bring this up because you and I actually, even though his numbers aren't great for Watson, we think there's a lot of positive development and there's a lot of positive things going with him. So the thing always is like, you know, we don't believe in scouting the stat line, and this isn't to say that there aren't some concerns. There are concerns, but there's so many things players are working on. There's so many things that go up and down. It's the same thing I talk about at the big leagues. Like I'm not going to knee jerk and change my views on a hitter after 11 games, after 10 games. Right. Like you need some time. So I just want to say, like, you're looking for things in positive development. You're looking for stuff. And like I said, we were really high on, we were talking about Watson like he was hitting like Cooper Ingle is hitting. And he's not. He's got the lowest on base on the team for anyone not named Dom Nunez. Side note, before we dive into Bazzana, I gotta say, I don't know, at some point with Cooper Ingle, we talked about some of the ups and downs with him and some of the concerns. It's like he just keeps hitting wherever he goes, just hitting. So I'm curious to see when he's gonna hit that wall with some of his limitations. Maybe the answer is never. Maybe it will just it's going to be a happy situation there. Maybe.
Could he be like, I don't know, like a Luis Ariz type hitter where it's just a lot of, I mean, he walks more than Ariz.
He walks a lot,
but as far as the contact, like Luis Ariz doesn't hit the ball that hard, and neither does Cooper Ingle, but maybe he just finds the right, maybe he's one of those guys like Stephen Kwan where
maybe he's Liam Hicks with the Marlins.
Catcher. Well, I mean, like just one of those bucket guys where like for some reason the launch angle sweet spot or the squared up thing works for him. Like it could be one of those weird bucket profiles that does work. But yeah, you're right. Watson does have really good metrics down in AAA. Like he's hitting the ball hard, he's walking, he's not chasing. when he does hit the ball in the air, he's pulling it, which is great. The contact rate isn't great. I don't think it's ever going to be great for Cleo Watson. Expected stats say he should be absolutely punishing almost every pitch. Changeups and oddly enough, curveballs and sinkers are giving him a hard time, but the expected stats against most pitches are really good for him. This is the best underlying data. Now, again, it's 50 plate appearances, but it's the best underlying data I think we've ever seen from Cleo Watson. And like you said, the numbers are horrible. Like, he's hitting below 200. The OBP is good. He's not slugging. So it's very strange to sit there and say like under the hood data is really good for him. But those are significant data points to pay attention to at this point to see if they continue and if he can be a major league option at some point. Whereas Bazzana, like you said, like overall, it's not great. Like, he's hitting higher than Cleo Watson. The OBP actually isn't quite as high, but he's slugging more and he strikes out less, which is fine. But, we know Bazzana's not really a strikeout guy. Expected stats if you care about expected stats in AAA, like the numbers are all really good against fastballs and sinkers. Not so great against changeups and breaking balls. So like right now, he's just having a hard time making quality contact against off speed and breaking stuff. So that's something he's got to work on. But I'm not concerned. I think he will pick those things up as the year goes along. It's just taking a little bit longer. And is that disappointing? Yeah, I guess. But we're still not even 2 years away out of this draft at this point. And there's nothing in there that gives me pause as far as like what he is or isn't going to be. It's just, it's taking more time than we thought, which is fine. Development isn't linear. I guess the reason you picked Bazzana 1-1 had a lot to do with timeline, but it is what it is sometimes with development.
Look at Jordan Walker in St. Louis right now.
Yes, finally Jordan Walker has figured it out, but it's he was on the cusp of not being in the majors, so you never know.
Yeah.
Are you worried? I mean, I am not going to ask this because I know you're not, but I'm not worried about Watson. I will say the guy who's walking a ton that I didn't expect to walk a ton was Angel Henao. He walked 4 times on Wednesday. He walked another time on Thursday. I think it's just the quality of pitching, to be honest with you, but it's better than him chasing wildly, which is great. So I'm a little bit not concerned, but I'm interested that Cal Steven is having an issue with walks so far early in the year. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then I thought Franklin Gomez in his first start with the organization this week was fantastic. Like 90 to 94, he showed off a cutter, a good slider, a curve. We know there's a good changeup in there. Like, that was a really fun first start. So I'm eager to see him more this year. And then got to mention Justin Campbell.
Yeah, I was gonna say he got to talk about him.
I can't believe after not throwing a competitive pitch for 4 years, this guy is like sitting 94 miles an hour, touching 97, and he's got what looks to be a good slider. He has a curveball. I've seen a cutter. The changeup was always a good pitch for him, and he's not walking guys. Like, he's throwing with control. Now, yes, he's 25 or 26 in high A, but it's not as if he has a lot of reps against these kind of hitters. And he's had 4 years off, and it's just unbelievable. Like, he was Rule 5 eligible this offseason. He will be this coming offseason. I mean, the way he looks right now, I don't know how you can't put him on the 40-man roster later this year. I don't know how.
Yeah, I was going back and looking at my old scouting report because I gave him I had him 23rd in the draft class. And, he was a 6'7" guy, Oklahoma State gets a lot of arms and hasn't really developed them super well. I believe that's where Cade Horton was as well. He's probably the most successful guy.
No, he was Oklahoma.
He was at Oklahoma. Okay. But it's like, was it the Braves just trade for Victor Medinos, who I think he was on the same staff at Oklahoma State with Campbell. And we've talked about guys like Jerron Watts Brown and so many other players. Witherspoon was probably right. Wasn't he at Oklahoma State last year? Or am I getting confused?
No,
with my Oklahoma. I'm getting my Oklahoma.
It was Oklahoma again. Yeah.
Well, either way, Oklahoma State's had a lot of guys through the years, and they have not developed them well. So I pretty much wrote in my write up that you're expecting him to gain velocity when he leaves. Like, you're targeting a program that doesn't seem to be the strongest for development because you expect there could be more. Now, I don't know how when you can't throw, you had that velocity, and he was, he had the curve and the slider were solid secondary offerings, but the changeup was the only plus one. For him to come out and have that velocity jump, it's exciting. It's something to see. Like, there's a reason why I had him as a 23rd overall player in the class. There's a reason why when they drafted him, he didn't throw a single pitch, and you and I both had him like in the 9 to 12 range. I think was he in your top 10? You were excited enough. Like, he's a really fun, really interesting player. And I kind of given up on him. Like, after that much in a row, I was like, well, I don't know if you're going to get anything. And for him to come out and look the way he's looked, like, yeah, I mean, he should get aggressively pushed this year because, maybe you hope he can be a starter, but with all that time missed, there's just a limited time with him. So,
yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to be on the 40. Like, you're gonna have to protect him because the stuff just looks good. That's assuming he gets to the end of the year healthy, which I never know, but I hope he does because he's been fun to watch the first 2 games so far. So I'll keep an eye on him. Do you want to give us the quick and dirty version of some draft news? I know you had some guys you want to talk about, and
I just want
news to get into.
Let's so one thing, let's just do the news from the start, which is they're now saying day 1 of the draft is going to be rounds 1 through 4, which I assume that means we're going to have an earlier draft, because if they try to do 4 rounds with it starting at 8:00, we're all going to be up till about 3 a.m. But it's different, and why this is a big change is typically after you get through the comp round, then everything pauses, and teams still have a decent chunk of money. 3rd round picks, there are some of those that you can offer over $1 million plus to. It's a chance to reach out to players to see if people have changed their minds, if they're willing to take other amounts. You get that really good time to re-rack and make sure you can get calls through, because agents are getting called by multiple teams at once. Things are trying to get found out. Instead, that's not going to happen in the 5th round. So we might actually, I think, with this change, see a few more guys slide through the cracks, a few more guys make it to college, because there isn't going to be that chance when there's a higher amount of money to go ahead and make those calls. Now, they often already have had these dialogues, but the important difference is players change minds. We have seen that with Ross Kivett with this team. We have seen it with Alex Mooney by reports with this team. We have seen guys change minds, and it can change the other way, where all of a sudden a player is willing to take Stephen Tarpley, another guy who by reports they had changed minds with. But yeah, it can change the other way, where a guy's like, I do want to go pro, I'll take less, or I like your team in particular, I'll take less, and it's going to switch that a bit. So that'll be something to watch. Let's just talk real quickly. I got to throw out the fact that we still haven't seen Cameron Flukie pitch since that opening week. That rib injury has kept him sidelined. Cleveland has really tended to avoid college players. I think or pitchers in particular early. I don't think they've taken one. Well, I think Justin Campbell's the last one they took, right? Because that was the next year. Williams. Yeah. Since those two, they have not taken. Then you have Messick around too, but they haven't really looked at the 1st round arm, nor have they been connected to any pitchers in the 1st round who was college guys. We haven't heard any real connections, so I don't know if they would go for him. And then another guy who I think they would have considered, who is yet to play this year, is Tyler Spangler from De La Salle High School. They love up the middle talent. They have a organizational weakness there. It is not a great college group, and he was a guy who I think I had like 10th or 11th in my first mock, and he has not played at all this year either. I also want to mention Jacob Lombard, shortstop, Gulliver Prep in Florida. I'm enjoying Joe Doyle's mock draft machine. Lombard is falling often in that machine. And Callis and Mayo, 2 of the GOATs for this stuff, they just did like an 11-pick mock. And who did not appear in that mock was Jacob Lombard. He was not going in those picks. So the reason that is important is a team like Cleveland could potentially, you take Lombard with the high pick, and then at 29, you what we call punt it, which means maybe they go for a senior sign. They go for because if someone like Lombard's going to cost you like $7 million, then all of a sudden you'd only have arguably $300,000 to spend at that second pick, or you can cut from other picks. But there could be situations where they decide to go big and take a big chance. For those who don't know, that is, the prospect George Lombard's younger brother, whose dad was also a hitting coach and a player in the big leagues. Lastly, I want to get this in before I went through. I have all the batted ball data. I entered it all. The king of the batted ball data this year is Chris Hacopian, shortstop, Texas A&M. My top 5 early right now: Rock, Chalowski, Chris Hacopian, Jackson Flora. Man, my brain is
Von Lackey.
Von Lackey, of course. Von Lackey is my number 2. I'm forgetting him. And then Yeah, man, my brain. Oh, Grady Emerson's fifth, the high school.
Grady Emerson, yeah.
Yeah. So, no Justin LeBron. He is really struggling again in SEC competition. We'll have plenty of time for more draft talk. If there's a name you want to know about, drop it in, and we can maybe have some discussions later. I want to thank you all for joining us. We'll, of course, be back next Sunday to discuss what happened over the weekend. Or we'll be here on Monday for you. We'll record on Sunday, but we'll be here to discuss what happened. Hopefully another series win for your Cleveland Guardians. Thank you all for joining us, and go Guardians, go.